Good morning and welcome to the porch. We got a pretty good video for you guys today. I think you'll like it. We have been wanting for a long time to be able to do gel test and chronograph test on ammunition that we're loading for our own personal use. And we're loading it for several different things. So we're probably going to end up loading 4 or 5 rounds that we actually carry in certain guns for certain different reasons, hunting and so on and so forth. But without gel testing and ballistics testing, you really don't know a whole lot about what you're creating when you load stuff. So I recently bought a chronograph and started making my own test gel. Now, the reason I did that is to buy the test gel is pretty expensive. Now, we may do that a little bit later on, but right now we're just trying to get our feet under us, know how to really test ammunition. Now, I've been reloading for probably over 30 years, but we never really knew what ammunition was doing. We'd shoot it a jug of water or shoot it through books or something like that, wood, whatever, to kind of get a general idea. But I got to be quite honest with you, that doesn't really tell you a whole lot about what a bullet will really do. And some would make the argument that gel test is not realistic either. And I would agree with that. I've seen Paul Harrell's meat test, and they're probably closer than anything you'll get. That's an expensive way to test. You can buy ballistics gel cheaper than you can buy meat these days. But anyway, having said that, let me see if I can get kind of on track here this morning. I wanted to know what my ammunition was doing because I like fine-tuning things. I like fine-tuning guns and the way they function, but I also want to fine-tune my ammunition. I want to up the powder if it needs it or lower it if it needs. And so the best way to do that is to have some test equipment that can tell you what that's really doing. Now, velocity and expansion is two critical things to me. Weight of bullet is critical because depending on what you're doing, the weight of the bullet is going to make a determination between penetration and no penetration or very little penetration. I actually tested one yesterday that had very little penetration. It was a 38 special, but it really performed very well in that it expanded beautifully. So I've got to think about that and think about what I'm going to change to get to penetration. Now, I will say this, I shot it out of a 2-inch barrel gun, so I may got all the penetration that gun will provide. But anyway, let's don't get too hung up on that. Let me show you guys the guns that we're using as our test guns. You guys seen these guns before if you've watched many of the videos. That's the Kimber Target 2 10 millimeter 5-inch barrel. 5-inch barrel is important because the velocities out of a 5 as opposed to a 3 is considerably different. But anyway, 5-inch barrel. And the Taurus 1911 45 ACP, also 5-inch barrel. And I've carried this gun a lot as a EDC. Now I don't carry it anymore because of the weight of it, and I've gone to a 9 millimeter high capacity Glock. So I've kind of retired this one, but not totally. I still carry it every once in a while, just make me feel good about it. But anyway, that's the second test gun. Now let me show you guys what we're going to be. I'm having to find my stuff here. We have the 10 millimeter. I'm going to try to get this to where you can see it. These cameras sure don't like focusing. And if not, I think I'll put a still picture up there in the corner for you if I have to. But anyway, that's a 10 millimeter. It is a 165 grain SIG V crown running at about 1350 feet per second. Pretty hot little round. Now 10 millimeters can go hotter than that in a 165, but this, I'm designing this for actually a carry. So I don't want a super lot of penetration. and we'll talk about penetration a little bit later on at the end of the video. So stick around. I want to show you the ammunition. Now, we've already tested this ammunition, but I want to show you the videos of us testing the ammunition, and then at the end of the video we'll show you the expansion of the bullets and talk about the penetration and some things like that. Now let's look at this guy right here. We'll see if we can see it. Now this is an XTP. It's one of my favorite projectiles, but I like the HST more than any of them. But these here are available at my local gun store, so I buy them from them. So anyway, having said that, this thing is running at about 850 feet per second. And I really wanted that to be running 950 when I loaded it. And that's the reason for testing on a chronograph, because you can go out of the book and everything and do the math and get pretty close. But I was 100 feet per second off this one, which is quite a bit. Now, and I'll show you again the projectile after we shot it in the test gel at the end of the video. But that is a really good carry round. I'd still like to have about 950 feet per second on this, and we're going to bump it up and do some more tests, but that's what we've tested so far. So there's that. Now, let's go ahead and just look at the videos where we tested this ammunition. Now keep in mind, and I'm going to apologize up front, my videoing was pretty poor. I learned some things. This is the first time I've ever done this and videoed it too. First time I've ever done the test gel thing and chronograph. Now we didn't put the chronograph stuff in this video, but I'll give you the numbers and everything, because that's all you need anyway. But we struggled with making sure our cameras were in the right place and this, that, and one thing and another, and we learned some things. So if we do another one of these videos, I think it'll be a lot better. And if we do about 100 of them, maybe we'll get pretty good. But having said that, let's go ahead and skip over to the video to where we actually did the testing and let you guys see that. Now, look, if you got any comments or ideas or input, advice, feel free to put it in the comments. Fact is, we're trying to get this off the ground, so if we can get subscribers and comments and shares and likes, it helps us a whole lot. YouTube tends to pay attention to that kind of stuff, and they'll put you out there a little bit better if you've got all that stuff. But let's move on, and I'll show you the videos of the gel test. All right, guys. I wish we'd have got a better picture of that wound cavity with that 45, but it was really pretty, so maybe next time. The wound cavity on that 10 millimeter in the gel block was just massive, and I know you've seen how that gel block jumped up there. That thing had a lot of power to it, guys, I'm telling you. I hope you can see that wound channel and the way that it rocked that block of gel up, and it tells you a little bit about the 10 millimeter and the energy that is behind it. As you can see from this different angle, that 10 millimeter bullet did fragment quite a bit, but it did a lot of damage. Okay, here we are back in the office again. After the gel testing, we wanted to do just kind of a follow-up on what we accomplished there. And I'll tell you, it's cold out there today. I'm having to have coffee. But anyway, let's just get started here. Now, we tested the 45 caliber first, and I want you guys to see this, because, man, this thing really did perform good as far as mushrooming and expansion. And that XTP, Hornady XTP, that's a good projectile. I really like the performance of that thing. The wound cavity on this one was just about as pretty as any wound cavity you'd ever look at. I mean, the performance in that area was great. This one had let me see if I can remember. This one had, I believe, 14 inches of penetration. So that was really kind of nice. And so it had plenty of penetration. The foot-pounds of energy on this bullet was a little bit low. Of course, I was a little bit low on my velocity. I wanted 950 and I only got 850. The energy was just a touch under 400 foot-pounds of energy, which is real. I'd like to have seen 400 at minimum, and I would love to have seen 450. Anyway, that's the 45 ACP. Good performer, no real complaints about it, but it's not exactly what I wanted it to do. So let's jump out here to the 10 millimeter. Now, boy, that thing, it mushroomed nice. 165 grain again, and it did pretty good. The wound cavity on this one, as you probably already seen in the test gel, I got to tell you guys, this thing has a lot of energy. I think it was like 675 foot-pounds of energy. That's a lot when you consider the 45 was at 400, and that was a pretty reasonable load on that 45 and 230 grain bullet. So when you think about this right here, and you're up between 600 and 700 foot-pounds of energy and about 13 inches of penetration. Now, I didn't get to measure those out there to where you could see them because I just forgot to. I'm still learning. I'll get this thing figured out. But anyway, this bullet performed extremely well, and I really liked the way it performed. So what am I trying to accomplish here? Well, what I'm trying to accomplish is to know and understand my ammunition as good as I can, to understand the science behind the ammunition and have some kind of an idea of what it's going to do when it hits the target that I want it to hit. Now, let me say this again. Test gel is just test gel, okay? But it will tell you something about expansion. It will tell you about penetration, and it'll tell you about foot-pounds of energy. As you may have noticed, that 45, when it hit the gel block, it didn't bounce it a lot. It done a really good job, but when that 10 millimeter hit that gel block, it stood it straight up. I mean, that thing had a lot of power. So you can learn more than you could back in the old days. The old days we had water jugs, 2x4s, and big old thick books, from Sears and Roebuck. So we've come a long ways, guys, and we're just learning that. And I got to tell you something. This has really been kind of enjoyable for me because I like fine tuning things. I've built race cars most of my life, and fine tuning engines was something I really love. Still do that a little bit. Not race cars, antique cars, but I do like fine tuning engines. I like a good fine-tuned gun, and I'm notorious for tuning every gun that I've got. But anyway, this gives me the tools to do that with, and this is more for my information than anything, but I just thought you guys might enjoy watching a little bit of that and just seeing how sometimes an old guy down here on the farm has to do things. So with that said, guys, we here at the Porch love you guys. We appreciate you guys. I want to say this especially. I really appreciate you guys that have subscribed and commented and things like that. And it means a lot to us. So may God bless. You guys have a good day.